Hello, all. Today on Let's Talk Real Estate USA, we have Krysta Senek, the team leader of Weichert West Orange. And before we move forward, remember to hit the like and subscribe button for more weekly content. Krysta and I will be talking about the differences in managing rather than producing, hyperlocal market trends, and much more. So here we go. Today we are interviewing Krysta Senek, who's the team leader over at Weichert in West Orange. We're going to be covering a few things today. Primarily, we're going to be talking about the differences in brokerages. We're going to be talking about the market conditions, especially local, but we might be talking national. And then just a hodgepodge of other things we're going to settle upon. So let's get going. Hello, Krysta. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Krysta Senek. I am the managing broker at Weichert in West Orange, and I'm originally from Ohio.
Oh,
That's
I
me.
didn't know that.
I've been a realtor for 20 years. I grew up in outside of Akron, Ohio, so Northeast Ohio.
Cool. So how did you get... So can you tell us a little bit about your real estate journey? How did you start? Why did you start? And then how did you get to where you are?
Oh, why? Yeah, why? I got into real estate because I moved to New York City from Ohio to be an actor, and went to theater school, finished theater school, and pounded the pavement and went after job after job after job. And I was tired of getting the 9-to-5 job and then having to bow out because I had some sort of gig or audition. And so I bought a house in West Orange, and I said, maybe I should be a realtor. And so I got my license, and in September of 2002. My license in 2002, and also got pregnant in 2002. So I stayed with the job that I was in until I gave birth, so a year later or whatever, and then made the transition to no more 9-to-5 job. Still was looking at doing theater, but since I had my son, I wasn't able to really do theater at the moment. So then I started focusing on real estate, and then when I focused on real estate, that transitioned out of my theater and acting jobs and went straight into real estate. And I've been doing it ever since.
So what was the transition for you from realtor to more of an administrator, and why?
I always loved helping people, and I always loved being able to give my knowledge or what I've learned, the good and the bad, and apply it so that those people didn't have to deal with it as well. And that really, it made me feel good to know that I'm helping their journey. So when I was with Weichert for a while, and then I had gone to another company and was a coach there for 6 years because I loved the idea of helping people in that different way and getting paid to do it. And then I transitioned into a management role where I could still sell and also manage. So an assistant manager back at Weichert. And then when there was the opportunity to run my own office, which was West Orange, 2.5 years ago, I jumped at that chance because that is where I always wanted to end up. That is my main market. That is what I know. And so West Orange, New Jersey has me, and I'm not leaving. So the transition was a little scary because you're a top producer in your market, and then all of a sudden you have to stop producing and start managing, and how is that going to work? And I decided to take the leap of faith and just jump.
What do you feel is a very important thing about management as compared to producing? Is it a different skill set? Is it the same skills but in different use? What do you think?
That's a very good question. So managing a large group of people is very much like being a top producer, but instead of people as a top producer, you have listings, you have buyers, you have teams. So if you're a top producer that has a large team, then that would be somewhat like a management role. There are definite skill sets that I've transitioned over from selling that I have applied now to managing, such as, you have to look at things like your budget. You have to look at what marketing is going to give you the best bang for your buck. There are also things that prospecting, because instead of selling or contacting buyers or sellers, I am contacting other offices, or I should say other agents from other offices, to talk to them about what Weichert can do. So, and you know what? I love doing that because if nothing else, it gives me a chance to talk with other people that I may not have otherwise met. So I don't ever look at anything as a negative when I'm making the call, even if they say they're not interested. That's fine. I at least got to know you. So so I like that part of the job. Now, as far as management compared to selling in a different way, there are a whole bunch of different personalities that it's like you have to manage 70 of you. So 70 of me, because as a realtor, we're a bit quirky at times, and we have to manage those expectations, those assumptions, those just the expectations. It's a very different scenario. So it's very different because there's an end game with a buyer and a seller. They ultimately want to end either selling their home or buying their home with another agent or with the team of agents that I have. It's different because it's an ongoing relationship that you want to continue to build and grow. And so you have to learn all those unique personalities and how they vary from you and how you can continue to grow that personality. Does that make sense?
So what's
Yes.
your favorite real estate memory?
My favorite real estate memory is when I was showing a house and we were coming from the basement up to the first floor and the stairs fell out from under me.
Did you fall through? What happened?
No, they literally collapsed. And it was it had been vacant for 30 years. And the seller insisted that there was not black mold in the basement. And I kept saying, there's black mold in the basement. You have all this water. It was insane. And I was showing it and I was on my way up and they started to collapse right behind me. And so I grabbed onto whatever I could, and the actual top part didn't collapse. So I was able to get up into the first floor, and then they collapsed.
Did you sell the house?
So I had to pull that.
Did you sell the house?
Did not that time. I have this thing that I teach, which is how to not sell, or how to sell a house in 7 years.
Hey, I really want to write a book that's called How to Become Rich in 8 Really Hard Years. Because all the people that I follow on social media or that are really just killing it, I learned that from the start of their careers to the time where I was like, okay, at that point, that's when they were really starting to kill it. And I mean, they were doing well before, but I mean just making $500,000 plus a year was 8 years, every single one of them. So I really want to write a book, How to Become Rich and 8 really hard years.
So I'll add to that and do how to sell a house in 7 years, so that in your 8th year you don't sell more than just one house. Yeah. But basically what happened with that is that they ended up selling to an investor privately, but then I stayed on top of that investor because they lived in the house was in my neighborhood. And it got to the point where I just kept driving by, going to the office every day. And he said, I kept going up to him and he's like, Krysta, I have your card. You don't have to keep coming. I was like, look, until you list with me, I'm staying with it. I've worked too hard on this house.
I nearly died on this house, so yes, I'm selling.
Yeah, exactly. So you're paying me.
So favorite memory. So here's an interesting one. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Biggest failure. I would say, I don't know that there's a huge failure overall. I think it's a collective group of failures that you learn from each and every time, right? So when you don't get a listing, that's a failure in my mind. So what I do then is I say, okay, what can I learn from that? What could I have done differently? Or if I don't get a house for a buyer, I say, okay, what could I have done differently? It's never about that person not wanting me. I don't blame that person. I only blame myself. And that helps me to grow each and every time. So then I apply that to when I'm a manager and when I hire somebody who I think is going to be absolutely perfect and they're not, and I have to end up terminating them after a period of time, I say, well, what could I have said differently? What could I have asked them? Maybe I didn't have to be so quick to hire them, maybe give them a little more time, a few more interviews. So I don't want to say that there's any one failure per se. That makes sense. It's just a collective.
What does a successful morning routine look like for you? I personally, when I wake up, I go to the gym, I go to my favorite deli, I then come to the office and I do some reading, and then I do calling. Do I always succeed in that? Not always, but that's a successful day.
Yeah.
Morning, I mean.
That's great. My successful morning is waking up without a headache, number one. And waking up with coffee, number two. And getting out of the house on time because there's a lot happening at home, and being able to get out to the office in a reasonable hour and then start my day from there. It really, I'll be honest with you, it stems all from coffee. If I don't have my coffee, it ain't happening. And I'm not lying. That's no joke. I have to have my coffee. It just helps me to relax a lot. Because I know that the day ahead is going to be filled with a lot of things. And it can very easily, your day can easily get hijacked. But if you wake up with a clean mind and an open mind, when you go into the office, you never know what the day is going to turn into. So you always want to be open and present when you're in the office to accept anything that comes your way.
So, Krysta, what are you noticing about the market in West Orange right now and the surrounding areas?
The market is really, really crazy right now. As crazy as it was 2 years ago when we never took a break. Normally August is when the realtors leave town. They don't do anything. They kind of shut down for gearing up for the fall. And there was not that for 2 years. And we're starting to see that. It's a little crazy now in a different way. So it's crazy now because it's so up and down and up and down. But it's not like this, It's just like boop, 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 boop. So it's making waves. And I was talking in the office meeting today that things are up a little bit. So listings that were higher are selling quickly than they were 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. And we're going to see it go down a little bit. And we're going to be seeing that all the time. for the foreseeable future, for the remainder of this year, the market is correcting itself. That's
So
what
are
I
you
think.
noticing like a pullback in buyers? I'm noticing it. A lot of them are pulling back, but then I'm having new people come into the market who in their brains,
Right.
the 5% is the new normal, so they're fine with it. Or they complain for a moment, but then they're fine with it and they're like, okay, well, we've
Right.
accepted that it's going to be 5%, but the people who are already in it are dropping out
Right.
because they were really in it and only able to do it because it was like 3%.
Well, listen, I sold my house. I would never sell or buy in a pandemic, but I did. I sold my house in last year in August. Well, I put it on the market in June and closed on that and bought a new house because the interest rates were so low that I could upsize and I could upscale and I could do what I wanted to do. However, I think that there was a pause. I think that the buyers said, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, the interest rates doubled." Okay, but then they kind of chilled out. They recognized what was going on, and they still see the value of buying versus renting. So when you really look at it that way, what we're finding in our office is that the buyers are very much still there. We're still getting multiple offers. No, we're not getting 20 offers, but we're getting 5. We're getting a steady stream of people coming through depending on the area. One area we get 14 people, another area we get 2. But that's always been that way, right? It's just because of the areas that we're looking at. So, but to your point, yeah, there are those new buyers that are coming in who don't know any better and who are saying maybe they held off 2 years ago and decided because they didn't know where their job was going to be or whatever, and so now they look at it and they say, okay, maybe now's a good time. The prices are just going a little lower than they were before, and it's an opportunity to take advantage of the fact that there are less buyers
Yeah.
out there.
Well, I'm definitely noticing a shifting. And yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's just not as crazy of a shift as I think we thought it might be.
What is a common myth that you wish you could destroy about the field, about the real estate business?
So I say this all the time, and people have probably said it and people have probably heard it, and it's worth repeating. Real estate is simple, but it's not easy. You cannot come into real estate and assume it's going to happen just like that. Like, here's my buyers. I am now at 7 million. No, you can't do that, right? You really have to work. You have to work consistently. You have to do the same things over and over again. You have to make a name for yourself. It took me 6 years, I'd say, before I really started to see a difference and I started getting traction. So if you think that you're going to get into real estate to make money quick,
I'm finding, and my goal is to make lots of money, but I can already tell that it's going to be backloaded in the sense that, like, in a
yes,
year, I'm hoping to make X amount of money for my first year full time, but I've definitely already accepted that the majority of that stuff is probably going to come in the last 6 months.
yeah, because everything, well, so first of all, about your 6 months, the public is 6 months behind us. And we're about 2 months behind the market itself, right? So they're 6 months behind us. We're 2 months, 1 month behind us. So you have to think about where everything is going. I don't even know what I'm just saying right there for a second, but it's the idea that you have to keep doing the things that you want to do. You have to keep having those daily activities. You have to make your phone calls. You have to do your door knocking. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to read your books. You have to, don't ever give up any of those things, because the moment you give up is when your pipeline starts to run dry. So to your point, if as a realtor, if you're not working right now, then your fall/winter, beginning of winter, is going to stink because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing so that you can backload, or it takes time. So I always tell people, don't take your vacation until you deserve it.
Yeah.
Right? So
At what time of the day do you feel most productive?
my best time of day to work well is really, it's about 10:30, and probably about 10:30 to 4:30 is kind of like my best little time there. But if I had to be honest, I would say it's probably closer to like 10:30 to 12. It's my time when I'm most awake. It's my time when I've gotten into the office, I've settled into the office, I've taken care of my emails, my business, anything that I have to do, and I'm really focused and engaged.
What are 3 books or podcasts that you would suggest, or any sort of thing like that you would recommend to the audience, and why?
Okay, so this needs to be said because I need people to understand why I'm saying what I'm saying is important, even though you should always be listening to me. And that is that I don't read. I don't enjoy reading. It is not my favorite thing, no matter what. However, my first book that really hit home for me is The One Thing. The One Thing I was able to read flying from here to Austin, the entire book. I don't do that ever. So for me to do that was significant. And the reason why I really liked it is it wasn't real estate. It was life. And it was really interesting to see how your career mirrors life. Everything, you don't have to be in real estate to be able to read that book, right? You can be in any sort of field and see the benefit of it. It just helped me it helped me to realize what I needed to do to move forward. And one of the first things that they say is multitasking is a lie.
Oh, I have read
and
this
so
book.
many people.
Oh, I totally have read this book.
Yeah, of course you have.
And it actually made me stop
Yes, it's
multitasking.
fantastic.
I can't remember how he put it,
Yes.
but I remember this.
Yeah, no, it's true because you can never do anything fully when you're multitasking. So
What are the other 2 books you were talking about?
All right, so my other book, my second book, is Atomic Habits, and that's by James Clear. And that is all about, it says, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. This book is a good book because how many bad habits do we walk into real estate with, right? We have all these bad habits that we've built up over time just because we're, I don't know, alive. And so that happens, right? And then it's also about saying, okay, well, let me not only eliminate those bad habits, but replace them with good ones, right? So that is the second one. And the third one is a very personal one because it is from this, it's kind of fun. There's an agent who I used to work with, and I was coaching her for a while, and her daughter wrote a book, and it was on Amazon for a little time. Now, I don't know if it's still around, but it's called Soar, and it is by Emily Talco. And it is just a bunch of quotes, and they're positive quotes. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. And I'll be honest, what I do a lot of time, well, every week I put in a new quote on the board. I call it Quotes of Krysta. And it's always a quote that either is motivational or it's a get off your butt and do something quote. But it's always something that people comment on, people look forward to when they come into the office because they never know what I'm going to bring.